True to its word, Eclipse Aerospace begins production on the twin-engine 550. The FAA addresses a safety issue on Great Lakes aircraft, and Solar Impulse has completed its no-fuel flight to Morocco. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to Airborne on Aero TV. Well, you really have to admire a company that says what they're going to do and then follows through with it. That's exactly what happened with Eclipse Aerospace as Mason Holland took the stage during the first International Eclipse Dealer and Sales Conference held this past Friday in Albuquerque and announced the official launch of initial production of the new model Eclipse 550 twin-engine jet. Eclipse dealers representing the United States and over 30 different countries were on hand as the management team and board of directors for Eclipse Aerospace all signed the fuselage of the first production aircraft, serial number 1001. The ceremony continued with the Eclipse production team officially mating the forward keel assembly to the fuselage. Now armed with an established supply chain, a new FAA production certificate, and a certified airframe, Eclipse is officially back in production with deliveries beginning in 2013. Eclipse plans initial low-volume production with the first aircraft taking approximately 12 months to complete as the balance of the production line is retooled and validated during the process. Full production for an estimated 50 to 100 aircraft per year is expected in 2014. The base price of the Eclipse 550 twin-engine jet is just under $2.7 million. It's rare that we get a news release from a company concerning an airworthiness directive, but the folks at WACO thought it was important to note that they are taking seriously an AD for Great Lakes airplanes built before they held the type certificate. The AD addresses a safety problem with Great Lakes aircraft produced in the 1970s and 80s. The affected aircraft were not produced by WACO Classic Aircraft, but as the new type certificate holder, the company said in the news release that they take seriously the issue of continued airworthiness of the Great Lakes fleet of aircraft, serial numbers 501 through 1012. In March 2011, a Great Lakes 2T-1A2 was substantially damaged when the right horizontal stabilizer failed as the airplane completed some aerobatic maneuvers and separated from the plane while it was on final approach for landing. The pilot was able to continue to a landing at the airport, but ground looped the airplane. Investigators found a pre-existing crack in the front spar at the rivets securing the steel-attached fitting tube. The spar moved outward and disengaged from the fitting. At least one maintenance facility familiar with this aircraft type has reported finding similar cracks in the stabilizer front spar on a number of occasions during routine maintenance. WACO Classic Aircraft says that the AD will not apply to new production aircraft as the affected area has been redesigned to prevent the condition from reoccurring. The solar-powered Solar Impulse airplane completed a trip from Switzerland to Morocco across the Strait of Gibraltar this week. Tom Patton brings us up to date on the latest flight of this innovative airplane.
In a flight billed as a dress rehearsal for an around-the-world attempt in 2014, the Solar Impulse completed its first intercontinental over-water flight over the past 2 weeks. The team began before the U.S. Memorial Day weekend in Switzerland and landed safely Tuesday in Rabat, the capital of Morocco. The first leg of the trip was piloted by André Borschberg from Switzerland to Spain. The aircraft departed from the Payerne airfield, crossing the border with France as it climbed to an altitude of 11,800 feet. The aircraft then flew over the Massif Central and proceeded in the direction of Toulouse before crossing over the Pyrenees at an altitude of 27,900 feet. The landing time at Madrid-Barajas Airport was chosen to avoid the peak of international air traffic. The team spent several days in Madrid waiting for an acceptable weather window to continue on to Morocco over the Straits of Gibraltar. Bertrand Piccard departed Monday, June 4th from Madrid and climbed to an altitude of 12,000 feet headed towards Seville. The airplane crossed the Straits of Gibraltar, flying over the Mediterranean at an altitude of about 28,000 feet, entering Moroccan airspace via Tangier at around noon. The prototype landed at Rabat Saleh International Airport on Tuesday at about 23:30 local time. The visit was made at the invitation of the Moroccan Agency for Solar Energy. The Solar Impulse team will participate in a groundbreaking for what will become the world's largest solar thermal plant. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
For 34 years, Canon has had a presence at AirVenture, dispensing advice to professional and amateur photographers alike, and even operating a loaner program which put some pretty impressive camera gear into the hands of people who wanted to be able to shoot like a pro for the show. But no more. On the blog of Jim Kepnick Photography, we learned that Canon has cleaned out its small building located near the AirVenture Press Center. From the brochures and furniture to the popular Canon Freeze 3700, from which the staff distributed ice cream treats to visitors. Apparently, Canon will not be a part of Oshkosh this year. As longtime Canon shooters and those who benefited immensely from Canon's presence at Whitman Field, we're not so sure it's going to be Oshkosh without Canon. You're watching Airborne, more in a moment.
Since its inception, Redbird Flight Simulations has been dedicated to developing new training technologies and processes in an ongoing effort to make aviation safer, more affordable, and more accessible. Consider Redbird's flagship flight training device, the FMX, a superior quality, full-motion, feature-rich advanced aviation training device priced with real-world flight training organizations in mind. With standard features that are anything but standard, such as wraparound visuals, a fully enclosed cockpit, quick change configurations, scenario-based training compatibility, and of course, an electric motion platform, the FMX serves up a level of realism that is simply unavailable in other training devices on the market. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird FMX, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you would like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero TV, our website, or a podcast, you can send us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. The AirVenture Cup race says that sponsorship opportunities are available for the 2012 race, scheduled to take place on Sunday, July 22nd. Sponsorships are available to anyone wanting to support the race and provide companies excellent visibility within the aviation community. Last month, race organizers decided to partner with the Sport Air Racing League after learning EAA no longer wished to be associated with the race. The race will start in Mitchell, South Dakota and end in West Bend, Wisconsin, with several checkpoints in between, totaling nearly 500 miles. Cross-country air racing has a long history in the U.S., starting in the early 1920s, and has been credited with many advances in aviation technology, speed, and reliability of engines. The organization's goal is to combine aviation history with innovation, new technologies, and individual craftsmanship into an event they think everyone can enjoy. WingX has come up with yet another innovation that will make flying with an iPad just a little more intuitive. Hilton Software has updated its flagship product, WingX Pro 7, with track-up capability. Using its split-screen technology, WingX Pro 7 seamlessly rotates VFR and IFR en route charts so that the aircraft is always traveling up the screen. WingX Pro 7 rotates airports and fixed identifiers, VOR identifiers and frequencies, as well as ADS-B weather and traffic and other important information. Hilton Software CEO Dr. Hilton Goldstein calls the update Environment Up. He said, quote, "We have found that pilots quickly forget that they are looking at an en route chart that has been rotated because of our smooth Environment Up rendering capabilities," end quote. WingX Pro 7 version 6.5 is a free update for registered users. Aspen Avionics has announced a new 2-year extended product warranty and is offering this new protection at significant savings. The extended warranty program is available for the entire line of Evolution flight display products. The company now provides 2-year coverage for a small increase over the previous 1-year program pricing, effectively cutting the cost in half. Customers may now extend Aspen Avionics' industry-leading no-nonsense factory warranty by 2-year increments. Available through Aspen's authorized dealer network, the extended product warranty covers exchange or remanufacture of the entire Evolution flight display system. Owners have the option to purchase the 2-year extended product warranty anytime before their existing warranty expires. For those customers whose flight displays are already out of factory warranty, Aspen is extending a grace period from June 1st, 2012 through July 31st, 2012. Virgin Galactic has announced that its vehicle developer, Scale Composites, has been granted an experimental launch permit from the FAA for its suborbital spacecraft, Spaceship 2, and the carrier aircraft, White Knight 2. With this permit in hand, Scaled is now authorized to press onward towards rocket-powered test flights. In preparation for those powered flights, Spaceship 2 will soon return to flight, testing the aerodynamic performance of the spacecraft with the full weight of the rocket motor system on board. Spaceship 2 and White Knight 2 have already made significant progress in their flight test program. With 80 test flights completed, White Knight 2 is substantially through its test plan, while the more recently constructed Spaceship 2 has safely completed 16 free flights, including 3 that tested the vehicle's unique feathering re-entry system. Additionally, 10 test firings of the full-scale Spaceship 2 rocket motor, including full-duration burns, have been safely and successfully completed. Although a handful of experimental launch permits have been granted to other rockets, Spaceship 2 is the first rocket-powered vehicle that carries humans on board to receive such a permit. Spaceship 1, the manned spacecraft, successfully flown to space in 2004, and the basis for the design of Spaceship 2, flew before the experimental permit regulatory regime was established. ANN has learned that Edward J. King Jr., a pioneer in the avionics industry and the founder of King Radio Corporation, passed away June 3rd at the age of 90. In 1948, King founded his first company, Communications Accessories Corporation, which in 1956 was purchased by Collins Radio Corporation, better known now as Rockwell Collins. King Radio Corporation was started in King's basement in 1959 and later moved into a farmhouse in the Kansas City suburb of Lenexa, Kansas. Eventually, the company employed thousands of workers who developed and produced world-class navigation and communications equipment for all types of general aviation aircraft, from piston-powered airplanes to business jets. Funeral arrangements are still pending. In just a moment, ANN Editor-in-Chief Jim Campbell says there is still some life left in the aviation industry. I'm Ashley Hale, and you're Airborne on Aero TV.
If you own a Cirrus today, or if you are considering the purchase of a new or used aircraft, consider this. Avidyne, in conjunction with the country's leading Cirrus sales and maintenance facilities, has launched the G3R9 program that combines the purchase of a late-model, low-time Cirrus aircraft and the addition of the Avidyne Integra Release 9 avionics suite for much less than you may have thought, and certainly much less than purchasing a brand new aircraft. G3R9, combining the best airframe, best engine, and best avionics for the best value.
Thanks for joining us. It's time once again for this week's Barnstorming commentary. ANN's Editor-in-Chief, Jim Campbell, says that 3 conversations he had last week prove that aviation still has the right stuff.
Hi Ashley, and hi folks. Had an interesting week this week. Got out of the office for a few days, got a few things done. Last Wednesday, I traveled down the east coast of Florida to spend a little bit of time with a couple of businesses, 3 in one day on the trip on down. Spent some time first at the Lopresti operation in Sebastian, Florida, a meeting with Larry Williams at BRS down in the Miami area, and dinner with Kirk Hawkins, the visionary behind the Icon Aircraft A5 project. It was one of those things that was tremendously uplifting and frankly told me that we had a lot more on the ball in this industry than some people might think. Lopresti, of course, are the mod folks who have done amazing things with airplanes over the course of decades, starting with the patriarch of the family, Roy Lopresti. They're working on a number of projects, everything from drag reduction to cooling to re-engineering whole types of aircraft to make them more efficient and more useful into the future. A great operation, very innovative, and a transformative aspect of aviation, bits and pieces, that is sure to have an effect on GA far into the future. Spent some time also with Larry Williams, who's taken BRS from a couple of $1 million a year as a company to tens of $millions, a major defense contractor, survived an assault by Cirrus Aircraft on the rights and technologies that they pioneered over the course of a number of decades. And I was a witness to that pioneering effort as one of the test pilots who flew quite a number of the test flights under the BRS system when it was first developed for the Cessna, under the STC they developed for the Cessna 150 and 152. Amazing folks. And then finally, boy, it was like a 3-hour dinner / conversation / rant / everything with Kirk Hawkins at Icon. A lot of it is off the record for the moment, but I got to tell you, they're the real deal because they know they have to develop more than an airplane. They've got to develop a system. They've got to develop a consciousness. They've got to develop a following. They've got to develop their own aspect of the industry. They also understand that they've got to be good industry citizens, and they're working on that as well. These 3 unique conversations, who join the hundreds of conversations I have over the year talking about transformation, are one of those things that make me believe that more and more and more that transforming aviation to rebuild it, to make aviation new, is something that'll happen grassroots, company by company, person by person, pilot by pilot, and plane by plane, because it sure isn't going to be the associations who are too busy reaching into your pocket, not doing much for it. At the same time, though, unfortunately, 48 hours later, I'm in a lawyer's office having to deal with the remnants of the Cirrus mess, the obfuscation, the craziness, the stuff that they've tried to do, the fact that we're the only ones at this point to have really tried to call them on the carpet for it, when in fact everybody knows what's going on, the companies that have been defrauded, the investors that have been not treated well, let's put it this way, or they're certainly complaining to us about that. The plans that were made, the promises that were made, all those things were broken, the lies that were told, the interference in so many things. So we went from the greatest to the not so greatest. Yeah, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. We make progress. We make progress slowly. But God help us all, I think we can make progress so long as we're out there doing what we can with the best of the industry and trying to do the best we can to put the worst of the industry behind us. For the Aero-News Network, Aero TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell. Now, go fly something. See you later.
It must have been a sinking feeling on the part of the towboat captain when the Space Shuttle Enterprise crunched ever so slightly into the navigation marker for a New York railroad bridge. The shuttle was being towed to a temporary stop in New Jersey, the first leg of its final voyage to the Intrepid Museum in Manhattan. MSNBC's Dennis Jenkins, who was on board the barge, said that a gust of wind caught Enterprise just as it was entering the passage beneath a New York railroad bridge, which offered only a few feet of vertical and horizontal clearance. The right wingtip of Enterprise was pushed into the bridge abutment. A statement released by the Intrepid indicated that, quote, a sudden microburst of wind measured at 35 knots was responsible for the incident, and that the only damage appears to be the protective foam on the wingtip. The opening of the Intrepid's shuttle pavilion is set for July 19th. A P-2V aerial tanker went down Sunday near the Utah-Nevada border, fatally injuring the pilot and first officer of the aircraft. The accident occurred in Iron County, Utah. The crew was battling the White Rock wildfire, according to the National Interagency Fire Center. The fire is burning on about 5,000 acres about 20 miles north of Caliente, Nevada. Television station KLAS reports that according to the Iron County Sheriff's Office, the plane went down just across the Nevada state line in rocky terrain while approaching the fire. It carried 1,600 gallons of fuel and more than 2,000 gallons of fire retardant. The two pilots have been identified as Captain Todd Neal Tompkins and FO Ronnie Edwin Chambliss. Both men were from Boise, Idaho. A Gulfstream G280 recently set an unconfirmed city pair speed record from Paris to White Plains, New York, making the flight in 7 hours, 40 minutes. Official recognition of this city pair speed record by the National Aeronautic Association is still pending. The G280, which is nearing certification and entry into service later this year, took off from Paris's Le Bourget Airport on May 17th and flew nonstop to Westchester County Airport in White Plains, New York, at an average speed of 0.80 Mach against an average 32-knot headwind. The flight confirmed that the G280 has greater range and a shorter balanced field length by 1,300 feet than does the G200 that it is designed to replace. Boeing's Phantom I unmanned airborne system completed its final autonomous flight June 1st at NASA's Dryden Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base, California. The 28-minute flight saw the Phantom I climb to an altitude of 4,080 feet and reach a cruising speed of 62 knots. After touching down, the vehicle sustained some damage when the landing gear dug into the lake bed and broke. The unmanned vehicle is designed to remain airborne for up to 4 days and can achieve an altitude of 65,000 feet, powered by an innovative and environmentally responsible liquid hydrogen propulsion system, creating only water as a byproduct. Boeing says the Phantom I ushers in a new era of persistent intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, where an unmanned aircraft will remain on station for days at a time, providing critical information and services. Phantom I is the latest in a series of Boeing-funded rapid prototyping programs. It joins the company's portfolio of UAS solutions, including the A160T Hummingbird, H-6U Unmanned Little Bird, S-100 Camcopter, Integrator, Scan Eagle, which is currently in service in Canada, Australia, Poland, the Netherlands, and Malaysia, Dominator, and Phantom Ray. Each week, we share with you a sample of an online video that one of our viewers thought was, well, especially entertaining. We call it AVW, the Aero Video of the Week.
Drop down about the width of your hand, or 6 inches.
This week, it's coming into the summer storm season. What better time to have a refresher on how to correctly tie down your airplane? To find this video, go to YouTube and search for Showalter Aircraft Tie Down. The full video runs 25 seconds in length. Finally this week, video recorded on cell phones on Memorial Day can land the pilot of a helicopter in Tennessee in hot water. That's because he or she was recorded allowing people on a pontoon boat on Dale Hollow Lake to climb onto the landing skids of the aircraft and then fall from an altitude as high as 50 feet back into the water. A story on television station WTVF-TV in Nashville, Tennessee shows the helicopter hovering just a few feet over the pontoon boat while 1 or 2 people at a time grabbed the skids and were carried skyward. The helicopter in the video appears to be a Robinson R-44. Several witnesses said the episode went on for about 20 minutes and blocked that part of the lake so that other boats were unable to pass. The helicopter's IN number was visible on the video, and the station found that it was last registered to a company in Chattanooga, Tennessee. A spokesman for the Corps of Engineers said flying so low over a lake in which it has jurisdiction without permission is a violation of federal law, and punishable by a $5,000 fine or 6 months in prison. In a world where everyone now has a video camera, everyone is working for the feds whether they know it or not, so be careful out there. Get comprehensive, real-time, 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net. And join us again next week for another edition of Airborne here on Aero TV. I'm Ashley Hale, thanks for watching, and see you next week.